Good morning. I'd like to thank you all for being here on short notice. I am Louay Safi. My name is spelled L-O-U-A-O-I. Last name Safi, S-A-F-I. I am the chairman of the Syrian American Council. And I have with me Yaser Tabbarah, who is a human rights lawyer, and also Saed Mujtahid, who is also a political activist. All of us are Syrian expatriates and American citizens. The Syrian American Council is a grassroots organization representing different Syrian Americans, and we called for this press conference to bring your attention to what's happening in Syria. Today is Friday, and as we speak, there are major rallies underway. These are rallies protesting the dictatorial rule in Syria and calling for democratic reform. We echo their demands, which are demands for political reform, and we do condemn strongly the use of live ammunition to calm protests. We think this is not acceptable.
Yaser Tabbarah again, Y-A-S-E-R-T-A-B-B-A-R-A, Syrian American lawyer and activist. We stand in solidarity with the Syrian people on the ground protesting today. The pro-democracy activists and protesters have been on the ground since March 15th, and their protests have been culminating in protests of tens of thousands, some reports say hundreds of thousands of people on the ground as we speak. We are deeply concerned for their safety. We call on the Syrian government to stop using any form of force to disperse these protesters, especially live ammunition. We remind the Syrian government and the Syrian security forces that using such live ammunition constitutes a crime against humanity under international law and international treaties, and we are deeply concerned for our families as Syrian Americans and our compatriots in Syria. We also call on the Syrian government to stop engaging these cosmetic changes or quote-unquote reforms, and ask them, beseech them to start engaging with the demands of the people on the streets. Again, as we speak, there are hundreds of thousands of people, according to some reports, in all sorts of different cities in Syria. There have been about 10 killed so far, according to human rights organizations and watchers, and we are deeply concerned about that. Finally, we call on, we understand that the situation, that our American government is looking at the situation and is concerned about the situation, and we ask them to continue applying the diplomatic pressure to stop the killing and to immediately for the Syrian government to secede from using live ammunition against protesters. And I would like to also thank members of the press and also call on members of the press here and otherwise to continue their coverage, to increase their coverage as the protests have reached a critical mass and could be covered as an uprising of the Syrian people. Thank you very much.
If you could answer in Arabic, that'd be great. What are your demands? What do you want from the Syrian government and also from the U.S. government? And have you been in contact with anybody in the administration? What have your conversations been like? But if you could answer that in Arabic.
And also in English for that last question.
Okay, let me start with English, and then I'll repeat it in Arabic. Now, basically, we are calling on the government to, first of all, implement the decision to lift emergency laws in Syria. Already the government has announced that it revoked those laws, but what we see on the ground, belies that assertion. Still, they are not even using crowd control measures. Today they brought tanks and soldiers and security forces, and sometimes we see even paramilitary forces using live ammunition to attack people. We are also asking for the establishment of independent commission to investigate all the killing and bring perpetrators to justice. We ask that the Constitution be amended, and these are the demands by the people on the ground. Definitely we are echoing their demands as Syrian Americans. We know that they have the lead on that, but definitely we would like to see constitutional amendment to end the one-party rule and allow multi-party system. Definitely we want to start a national dialogue and respecting, recognizing and involving leaders of the opposition.
Sorry, do you want the government to fall? Do you want Bashar al-Assad to stay or to go?
At this point, we are calling on the government to open up. Definitely, the Syrian American people have different views on this. I'm not representing every view within our community, but our organization at this point is calling on the government to engage and to implement reforms. So and we think they have the short window of opportunity to do that.
So the Syrian American Council does not have a point of view on Bashar al-Assad?
Well, what we have on him is that he is really applying the wrong tactic with the people. We welcomed his reform, but reform means something on the ground. And we feel that what he has promised is far short of the demands of the people.
Would you like the United States government and the international community to stop the violence in Syria? Also, just a point of clarification, are you yourself banned from returning to Syria?
No, I can visit. I can visit Syria.
Okay.
What we would like to see is, first of all, we would like to see more coverage by the media in the United States of what's happening in Syria. Now, the numbers, as Yaser pointed out, are quite significant. Tens of thousands came out today in protesting the actions by the Syrian government and the suppression. We would like to highlight that. We would like to have a diplomatic move to condemn and to pressure the Syrian government to live up to the international commitment that it has. As Yaser pointed out, what the Syrians are doing, the security government, the security forces are doing, is against international law. So we would like also to see more the plight of the Syrian people brought by international human rights organizations and civil society organizations. At this point, we are not for intervention. We are against intervention. We believe that the Syrian people are capable of standing up for their rights, but definitely these are very peaceful. They are not using any military means. They are expressing themselves peacefully. And we cannot allow the government to use military forces to suppress their legitimate demands. And in fact, the government itself, the president and his assistant, political advisor, have recognized that these people have legitimate demands. So we call on them to expedite that. We call on our government to take a strong and firm stand. Definitely we are happy with the statement of President Obama. We are happy with the statement of Secretary Clinton that condemned the atrocities committed against peaceful demonstrators.
So you're not for something like it's happening in Libya?
No, we don't want to see something like that. And we believe that people in Syria are committed to peaceful reform and peaceful protest. None of them is calling for armed insurrection. So we need to emphasize that, and we do respect the choice they have taken to protest and use their right to voice their disagreement and demand that the government listen to them.
If I could ask you one more. Yeah. On this particular issue, on this particular point, basically the Syrian uprising has started March 15th, and ever since it has been maturing, it has been culminating, and it has been attracting more and more people basically come out on the streets. The unique thing about the Syrian uprising, which is actually perhaps not so unique in the past couple of months in the Arab world, is that it's a leaderless revolution. It's a revolution of the masses, of people that have no ideology, that have no political aspiration, particular political aspiration, that have no Islamist agenda. People who are 20-somethings, 30-somethings that want basically their very basic demands of more democratization in Syria, freedom of expression, and government accountability. Now, the demands as the revolution or as the uprising matures and goes on, the demands will mature and develop. And as such, we expect that the revolutionaries or the pro-democracy activists on the ground to basically move in the direction of forming some sort of a council that basically would be that would basically represent their demands, and that would sit down with the government and negotiate. And I think that would be the best way, that would be the best possible scenario. We definitely do not want to see the situation in Syria deteriorate like it did in Libya, as Louay said, and we definitely do not think that it will. There are those who stoke the scarecrow of sectarianism in Syria, and we, as representatives, or as some of the representatives of the Syrian American community, we can tell you that the Syrian American community is actually a reflection of the Syrian society in Syria and its diversity, sectarian diversity, religious diversity, and I assure you that we coexist in perfect harmony here and have no reason for any sectarian tension. And we believe that Syria and Syrians have existed in perfect harmony pre-Ba'ath and pre the Assad regime, and they will, should that actually take place and should that happen, although we're not advocating for any one particular outcome.
So like a Polish scenario with a round table, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me add this. At this point, we are not really calling on regime change, but definitely, and I'm representing, as I said, a large a group of people. We believe there is a window of opportunity for the regime to respond positively. Now, if the killing will continue in the same manner, probably our community might want us to take a different position. So I hope that cool heads in the Syrian government will listen to our demands, that they come to the 21st century and start living in this century, not in the 18th century or 17th century or Middle Ages. People have the right to demonstrate, to have a free press, to participate in politics. All of that has been denied to anyone who is not in the ruling party. The ruling party has gradually become in the hands of very few people. So we believe this state is unsustainable. And we advise them and call on them, we demand from them that they quickly respond to the legitimate demands of the Syrians. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, you still haven't answered the question about your conversations with the administration. If you could do that in Arabic and in English.
Sure.
And if there's anything more specific that you want the administration to do, because you were just saying that you wanted more diplomatic pressure, but are you happy with what the administration has been doing so far? A lot of people have been criticizing it for not being harsh enough on the Syrian regime. Well,
I mean, the situation is extremely complex. I mean, that's something unique to the Syrian context and something that everybody has to recognize. The fact that, I don't think there's much leverage that the American government can place on Syria, considering the geopolitical kind of makeup of the region and the role that Syria has played in that makeup over the past years. But at the same time, I believe that as Syrian Americans, we have the right to ask of our government to put pressure, and we have the right to also choose the sort of pressure that we want the government to put on the Syrian government. And at this point, we're not calling for anything more than using the diplomatic channels that President Barack Obama tried to repair since taking office a few years back. And we believe that that sort of political or diplomatic pressure would result in a positive outcome. Beyond that, we cannot advocate for anything that is kind of escalated beyond the diplomatic pressure point. As far as conversations, actual conversations that we're having with the administration, I can tell you that I'm not aware of any conversations that our group is directly having with anyone in the American administration, precisely for that particular point. We are a grassroots organization that mobilizes our membership to call on their political representatives to basically put
Any more questions?
Okay, thank you very much.